On all the socials. Hello, everyone. It's showtime. Today I'm being joined with one of the top analysts on Seeking Alpha, Monty, who writes the Peach Pit
No, we
Substack.
rebranded.
I'm sorry. Monty Investments Substack. My bad. And he's a great guy. I've known him a long time. Former workout partner before I got fat, bodybuilder, impressive guy, a hairy beast of a man, as I like to say, and a top tier analyst. We're gonna kind of talk about the market, what Monty's thinking, and what he's been working on. Because as I understand, you have a big announcement as well. You want to kind of touch on that? You want to jump right into that before we go into the market?
Yeah, so doing our little memo on that then. We recently launched our model portfolio on Surmount, which is like one of those automated trade matching websites. So essentially, you can sign up, create an account, you can apply our model to your brokerage account, and it will actively and automatically update your portfolio with every trade that we make, as well as quarterly rebalances or monthly rebalances and all that fun stuff. So essentially, I'll be like your advisor without you having to talk to me every quarters.
Sorry, we're having some technical issues that I'm going to try to fix right now. So people could basically pay a fee and mimic everything that goes on with your account, though, which is honestly what everyone dreams of. That is the number one request I get from pretty much everyone, is they want to be able for me to just trade for them, and I always say we don't do that. There we go. Now we're live. Let me post this.
Yeah, and I think they're launching options trading strategies as well pretty soon. So, it could be something that you add to your arsenal.
Maybe. Does it? How long has this been live for you now?
So the model's been active for about a year. So you can see our historical returns since about April of last year, which has done exceptionally well. Last couple months, kind of so-so with the recent market crash, or whatever you want to call it. But
Correction. It just looks
I
like
mean, look,
deleveraging, the way everything's selling off like in tandem with each other. Just looks like a massive deleveraging, honestly,
oh
in
yeah.
my opinion.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, like, yeah, I completely agree. And if you look at, I talked about this in last week's, or I guess this week's newsletter on the Substack, where you're having a little bit of not really a liquidity crisis, but just some pricing of liquidity to where leverage is kind of being drawn down just to support the portfolio operation. So it's not really the assets themselves doing bad, because if you look at this last quarter, what was the percentage? It was like 75 or 80% of companies beat earnings estimates this last quarter, and
Right.
you still have this massive just drop in asset prices. So,
I mean, that's been for a trader. That's been the easiest trade setup. Is like everything gets this big pop on earnings, and then it gives you a short. Amazon gave me a double pop to short. It popped on earnings, I shorted that, and then it popped on the OpenAI news the very next day, and I shorted that too. but but at this point, with where everything's selling off, like nothing has fundamentally changed. In fact, we just keep getting more and more bullish headlines. Uh,
exactly.
yeah,
And circling back to the portfolio, since inception, we're up 85% above the benchmark, which is the S&P, up 33 and a quarter. So,
that's
I
amazing.
mean, maybe investing with us wouldn't be the first idea. This isn't a recommendation to buy into it, but if you want diversification outside of the standard Mag 7 stocks that you would get in an index fund, we're heavily focused in industries like energy and industrials and aerospace and defense, and stuff that's pretty deeply underrepresented in most diversified portfolio strategies. So, food for thought. You're going to receive differentiated returns by investing with us and not be overly exposed to all this tech drama.
as someone with a highly specialized niche and a proven track record too. Like it's yeah, it's honestly a great addition, especially if you've got a bunch of baskets and you're not one of these people. Actually, let me ask you something. This is a bit off the wall, but there is this big trend in many investment communities where they're selling U.S. assets and going to emerging markets. They
Hmm.
think that like Germany's the thing to buy right now, or China's the thing to buy right now. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so in part I do a lot of research and publications on Seeking Alpha as well. A lot of it's geared towards ETFs and closed-end funds, mutual funds. And I've looked at a handful of emerging market portfolios in the last couple months, whether it's fixed income or or equities. It seems like an interesting market right now, especially on the fixed income side. If you're looking to hedge against US equities, hedge against the US dollar, you can buy into emerging markets or international funds that are denominated on international currencies that'll create sort of a hedge for you for those domestic disparities. If you're not looking to hedge currency risk, you can buy dollar denominated bond funds, which are essentially euro bonds where they're issued in a different country denominated in US dollars. So all the interest payments as well as the maturity payment at the end, it's all going to be in the form of US dollars. So that'll provide you that international exposure without the currency risk. So there's a number of strategies that you can consider when gaining exposure to international funds. International equities, from what I'm reading on the European economy, it's not as doom and gloom as previously expected by the who's the big economic forum up there? Not the World Economic Forum, but
The WMF or
IMF,
well, that's I
International.
mean that's uh yeah.
I think it was the IMF, but I mean they reported or they're forecasting better than expected GDP growth across the European bloc, which I'm still a little hesitant on going feet first over there, but in all honesty, I don't expect it to be as doom and gloom as people expected, especially when tariffs rolled out. So, uh, there's certainly
You're
opportunity
so
in
like
income.
you're not in the American exceptionalism is slowly dying. You're like, oh, if you want to hedge, you can throw some money in there, but otherwise, you think it's
Exactly.
because that's the big thing. The biggest proponent of that, honestly, is like Scott Galloway. I'm not sure if you're aware of who he is, but like he sold all of his U.S. stocks and went fully into Europe. It's he bought the top,
Of
but
course.
and since he's done that, U.S. stocks have clearly outperformed. But there is a large cohort. That's one of the largest financial podcasts in the world, and so there's a lot of people who subscribe to his beliefs who are kind of mimicking that, and I think it's just. I just wanted your take on it. I have my take. I think it's stupid.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
No, I agree. It's easy
yeah.
to buy into peak euphoria and talking to people. So I've been doing a little bit more marketing on my research blog in the last couple months and talking to people, they're asking me why the hell would I want to buy into this stock? It's in the dumps. It's been trending down 60% the last 2 years. And that's what people don't quite understand about investing. You don't buy when the stock's up 200%. I mean, for like something like Nvidia, it's up what 1100, 2000% the last couple years, and still a buy in my book. But you know, point aside, people will, or I guess the general population will typically see a stock chart. If it's trending down for a given period of time, they'll say, "This is a garbage stock. I don't want to invest in it," without realizing that you're not going to experience those previous losses. You're buying at that point after all that
Pain.
price drop. So
Yeah.
it's always
Well,
backwards. You're the idiot when you're recommending a stock after a massive drop, whereas you're the genius when you recommend buying emerging markets or European stocks at peak euphoria. That's just how people look at the stock market in general. They look at the historical trends and believe that it will be reflected in the future. I mean, fuck, the most common disclaimer is historical performance shouldn't be suggestive of future performance, you know?
Right.
And that's the perfect case right there.
Well,
Um,
it's also especially on X. Like I know you're just now getting more into the social medias, but the most frustrating thing to see on X is people using price as confirmation when real investing is pretty lonely. People don't like
it
the
is.
yeah. There's you don't get if you're seeking out constant crowd consensus, you're late to everything always.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll
So
tell you, man, I track my views both on Seeking Alpha and Substack, and especially Seeking Alpha, where it's used by both retail and institutional traders. You know, I can see what's popular based on how many views each report gets, and I'll tell you, like a company like Nvidia or Tesla or Palantir, they get
yeah.
so many more views than a company like Argon, a small EPC firm that's building out the infrastructure for these guys. So it's
Yeah.
one of those things where people crowd into these popular ideas, which is what gets all the views, what gets people excited, and just
Right.
ignore what can actually bring them value.
Tell me something. One of the things I can use is if I post about an idea I really like and it gets an abnormal amount of views and likes, regardless of what social media platform it is. As far as trades go, that usually means that trade's not going to work.
Oh yeah.
It's like almost always that trade's not going to work because there's too many people looking for the same exact thing, and the market just has a way of denying the consensus. Um, and
No
so it's
doubt, man. You're weighing momentum trades versus valuation.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I love to see this puke on Apple into the close. It is so gorgeous. My Apple puts are coming back to life, baby.
Which
Oh,
one's Apple's
that's
highlighted one right there?
Apple is bottom right
Bottom
down
right.
here, getting
Oh wow, look at
absolutely,
that candle.
yeah, absolutely getting creamed into the close here on some decent volume too. Could be a little bit better. Relative volume still dead, but I still love to see it. Um, the video is still holding up into the close here though on the day, almost reaching the highs of the day. We've got 3 minutes left until the market close. Let me just say, guys, if you're watching this, let me make sure I got this pulled up into another tab here. If you're watching this live, I see we've got about 100 viewers so far. People are starting to pile in. This is Monty doesn't do a lot of these live podcasts where you guys can ask him questions, and he is without a doubt I'm not overhyping him at all. So if you got any questions about tech, energy, or anything, this is now the time to ask them. I'll be watching the chat if we get any of those coming up. But I do want to say, what's what excites you the most in your portfolio right now?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Honestly, I'd say virtually anything that has to do with power transmission and distribution. So, companies that are in the EPC space for power distribution, it's such a great market to be in right now. And there's one company I looked at a couple weeks ago, Century. They spun off, what was it from? If I remember correctly, I think it was Southwestern Gas. Um, there were two companies I looked at back to back, same style, spun off from a major gas utility as a MRO. But Century, they focus on more of the maintenance and repair side versus the new build side. Not as sexy as the new build side, which, if you're looking at industry trends right now, utilities are dumping something like $1.1 trillion into new infrastructure and grid modernization over the next 5 years. So, there's just a ton of money being poured into the grid right now. But my case for Century isn't necessarily that there's new investments, but more so their installed base is just expanding by that much. So the runway,
Okay.
taking a more conservative side on the industry, it seems way more appealing than, someone that's gonna focus on these new builds, and then once the money stops, once it's all built out, kind of just wane there.
Hmm. I like that. What was the ticker on that? I couldn't find it in TradingView.
It's CTRI.
CTRI.
Yeah,
I was trying to pull it up while you were talking. I was like, I can't find it. Oh, it's because it's not. I was spelling century, but it's an
yeah,
I, not a Y. Okay.
yep.
All right.
You don't want to be found.
Yeah. This is interesting, man. This is stuff like this would never hit my radar unless you brought it up to me. Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool. I like the idea. I like the concept there. With that, and it looks like it's pretty ignored right now. Oh, it's a smaller. It's two bill mid cap, mid to small cap.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's kind of typically my niche for the deep research. Look at small to mid cap companies, particularly in the industrials, aerospace, kind of anything in between, and their energy, you name it. So most of the stuff I'll be publishing, especially on the Substack, will be focused on that narrow niche area that typically goes under the radar.
And aerospace, what do you like? Like what? Okay, first, what do you think about broadly the space race going on? There's not a lot of participants, but
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I just did a podcast with Seeking Alpha at the end of October, covering ArcX, their space ETF.
okay,
So it's funny that you bring it up. This
yeah.
conversation.
Well, people love it, and the one I think Twitter's favorite is ASTS.
Oh my god, I've dumped on that company so much, and I've been so wrong on the momentum trade.
Okay. I just dumped on them recently too. There's a guy with like 250,000 followers who is saying it's going to be the next $1 trillion company. And
it's not.
Yeah.
So
I'm so happy to hear you say that.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. Because I did it.
Huh?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you look at my track record, which Seeking Alpha will track the date of publishing and your recommendation over time. So the first one you can see, I've published this company since October last year. The most recent one you can see is December last year, and then the more recent one in August. And it looks like it's only up about 13% since I published my strong short position on it. I mean, it shot up like a fucking rocket after I published that report. But if you look at the company, so their big mission is direct to mobile satellite communications, right?
Right.
Cool concept. They have these contracts with the major telco companies. That's great. But it's such a crowded market. Like, you have Globalstar that's already doing this, and you have SpaceX that's building their niche in this, and it's just such a crowded market that I can't see that much value in, especially with terrestrial towers still being utilized. It's like it's not going to be a one or the other. And how many people live in rural areas that need satellite communications? And I'll counter ASTS with Globalstar, which is a company I actually am bullish on. Similar concept, where it's satellite communications. Only Globalstar does more industrial Internet of Things communication. So if you take a look at one of your favorite companies, Symbiotic, is it Symbiotic or
Symbiotic?
Symbiotic.
Yeah.
SYM2. So they're developing the robotic fleet and the automation technology for Walmart warehouses. And they're using Globalstar's satellite communications to connect those, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that
the
is
ticker
cool.
for Globalstar is GSAT, if you want to look that up. But like, just taking that fundamentally, you have a company that's diversified, has an industry purpose, like an industry specific purpose, rather than being a hype company that's aiming at consumerism.
Right.
And a very crowded market. So their stock has done pretty well in the last couple months, not only on, you know, operational excellence, but also there's a rumor that SpaceX might be interested in buying them out, which would be a real kick in the balls to ASTS. Because if SpaceX buys them out, they're going to accelerate the rocket launches, accelerate the satellite deployments for direct to mobile, and just crowd out the market to the point where ASTS can't compete.
Yeah. Well, I guess Global Star is only 8 billion, so that's definitely in the realm of possibility. But that's actually insane. What is ASTS's evaluation right now? Is it ludicrous?
Oh my God. It's stupid.
Yeah, let me see right here. Trading View, which isn't always most accurate, is 21 billion. A Global Star trades at 8 billion. Yeah. And I mean, even year to date performance, GSAT up almost 800%, ASTS up under 500%. I mean, you've picked the winner there, even though ATS isn't really going to try to squeeze you. It's just so it's just the fundamental. Also, any company, not to be fair, for my research, tell me if I'm wrong. You know more than I. But
I love telling people I'm wrong.
Yeah, I know. It's fun, isn't it? It's my favorite pastime on X. I when I was viewing this space, the only company that seems like it could even have a possibility of reaching a trillion is SpaceX, because they aren't just because they're an actual provider and not just like an alternative that another company can use. Like, they're actually competing with the companies that ASTS is a servicer for. So, you can't be a servicer and reach $1 trillion market cap in a sector where the TAM is like 2 trillion. Like, you're not going to dominate half of the space. Like, it's yeah. That is just asinine to me. It makes literally no sense whatsoever.
You have the guys that build the rockets that launch your satellites up into space, but they're also launching their own satellites up into space to compete with your satellites. I mean,
yeah,
there's a certain amount of consumer protections in there, but I mean, they kind of know. They have more insights. SpaceX has more insights into the launch cycles and the satellite communications industry than ASTS. I mean, if you need one reason to sell ASTS, they're trading at 737 times sales. So, I mean, is that a figure you're comfortable buying into? It just baffles me. Like, you have a old.
It's not even it's it's TikTok brain. I call it TikTok brain, where people things go up, they get excited, they get manic about their decision making and completely emotional, and they don't pause for a moment and think, could I probably buy this cheaper in the future? If you're trading at a multiple like that, even if you are the next all-star company and you're going to $1 trillion, there's cheaper to prices to buy for sure if you're trading at that multiple. Like, it's stupidity to not have the patience to say markets have retracements. This market's a boom and bust cycle. It's been for 3 decades. Like, it's gonna have some pullbacks eventually that are gonna give you some better opportunities. So why would you FOMO into it, even if you did believe into it? It drives me nuts, man. People just throw away their money and throw away their opportunity cost for literally no reason. Pure out of pure stupidity. But anyways, when we're talking about insane PDE ratios, have you looked at Bloom Energy? Have you been following this? Not in some time. What's
Bloom doing? Did they secure a major contract or something?
Bloom is like the consensus of the market is this is the biggest benefactor of the AI energy demands is Bloom Energy. Bloom Energy will be the company to provide to these. I mean, even here on TradingView it says neutral, but the market price says to the moon. This thing trades at Last I looked, it was trading at 1500 PDE ratio when I went short on it. Actually, I think it was like 1700 PDE ratio, but it's another one of those that's just trading at insane valuations.
So let's see. They manufacture, sell, and install solid oxide fuel cell systems for on-site power generation in the United States and internationally. The company offers Bloom Energy Server, a power generation platform that converts fuel, such as natural gas, biogas, hydrogen, or a blend of these fuels, into electricity through an electromechanical process without combustion. What? What's it used or something?
What?
I'm not a scientist, so I have no clue, but that's weird. Um, Services data centers, hospitals, healthcare manufacturing facilities, biotechnology facilities, grocery stores, hardware stores, yada yada yada. Pretty much just lists every industry. Um,
I mean, I think
let's see.
I think the low the superficial take is like nat gas is the path forward for AI. Energy consumption and Bloom Energy will be the winner.
I don't know about that. I mean, just look at. So I don't cover Hitachi, but look at GE, Vernova, and Siemens. I mean,
Oh
they have
gosh, GV.
like 116 gigawatts of gas turbine capacity that's committed for sale in the coming years.
I
I
sold
mean,
this and I want to buy back in so bad. And GEV's a freaking monster stock. And
oh
actually,
yeah,
a lot of people in the NBT community still hold this with size, and I don't blame them.
oh yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
if you're in our portfolio, you would have been in them since day one.
since day one.
Not
Oh,
to,
for real? That's amazing.
but, oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're that's a core holding. But I mean, like, just thinking about the story, GE Vernova broke off from GE Parent Co.
Hmm.
Came out with a pretty clean balance sheet, enough working capital to work down to bolster free cash flow over the last couple quarters. Operations, they're very focused on lean operating efforts. So they're improving revenue, they're decreasing their SG&A costs and just bolstering their margins quarter by quarter. Um, I mean, the only downside risk I really see with GE Vernova is their wind market segment, which has been doing kind of shitty, especially with offshore wind and the tone the US government is taking. They blocked those offshore projects. Where is it, like East Coast, New England area for like Rhode Island or Boston or something like that. But those project construction was blocked and it was renewed. Limbo. Trump has an option to uh, counter it. So it's kind of a weird market right now. The European market seems to be a little bit better and more robust, but I mean, how you have what's that big European company? It's Osted, or I don't know how you pronounce it,
I wouldn't know.
but yeah, they're having terrible financial issues and they were just whacked with that offshore project in the US getting pushed out. Took a couple $100 million hit on it. And there was a Wall Street Journal report about a month or so ago how they're intending on laying off a pretty good percentage of their headcount by 2027 as projects are pretty much dried up.
Oh, gosh,
So I
that
mean,
is about as bad as it gets. Yeah.
wind sector is about to just be crushed. And I personally think GE Vernova should exit that sector, just stick to traditional fuels. You know, they're one of the leaders in nuclear power. They're developing or designing their SMR technology. They have a couple customers. I believe it's Ontario and the Tennessee River Valley. So they have a couple builds that they're in the process of getting into the works right now. I think they're going to be delivered sometime in the early 2030s. So I mean, they're not just doing current energy needs, but they're preparing to service for the future energy demand. Um, so yeah, it's been one of my top favorite companies to hold since they spun off from GE. I think the current valuation, it's kind of stretched, but forecasting out, especially as they build additional capacity and improve operations at their gas turbine facilities, that and as a new backlog converts into revenue, so they've been seeing positive pricing pressure on their turbine sales. So as new backlog rolls into revenue, they should see an uptick in revenue generation, uptick in margins. So taking that into consideration, sure, they're still kind of expensive with respect to the broader market, but it's not really that terribly priced, especially when considering Siemens Energy's valuation is pretty much right up there with them.
Yeah, I mean
So,
this chart looks fine. This daily chart looks like we were getting ready for another leg higher.
mhm,
It looks like
yeah,
it actually looks like a great bull flag before a
oh,
launch,
yeah,
retest the highs
yeah,
very soon.
they're up, what, like 7% today or something?
Yeah, they had a really nice day today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd be a top watch for me depending on how market reacts tomorrow to Nvidia earnings.
hmm Yeah,
Hmm.
that'll be a pretty big indicator for the market. I
Did
mean,
you?
if you want to, have they released their earnings yet, or where are we out on that?
Nope, nothing yet. I don't believe. I've been watching market watch. I haven't pulled up here. I haven't seen anything. Yeah, excuse me. Wow. I can't remember if they're usually late afternoon or not. I see Abe just joined. Abe, do you know?
I don't know what time, no.
Okay. Well, yeah, so we'll keep an eye out for that whenever it drops. We'll probably take a look at that. But what are your let's not do the Nvidia. We'll wait a little bit longer for the Nvidia conversation. I actually really want to ask you. You have been a big fan of Palantir, and I have. It's one of those stocks where I kind of kick myself. I did have a position. I sold too early. I was too big of a skeptic to get back in, and it's doing a pullback here. What do you think of Palantir the way it sits right now? And I remember you
Yeah,
telling me when this thing was like $20 that it's just an incredible company.
yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I sold too early at around $100 a share, and
You held it even
kicking
longer
myself.
than I did.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I pulled an us where I intended to buy back after that dip, forgot about it, and then
Yeah.
bring it up a couple weeks later, and it's like, oh man, yeah, no, I'm definitely not buying back in yet. And here we are, $200 or whatever it's at these days, and
It's at
missed out.
165 right now. I've been shorting it actually. Um, it's not an easy short. That's all I'll say.
There's
Yeah.
so much positive momentum in there, and that's another one of those meme stocks that you log on Twitter, it's just blind enthusiasm for the stock. But I'll tell you, it's a great company. They're like leading in margins or leading in revenue growth. They were up like 70 something percent at the top line this last quarter, raised guidance, and they're just taking on the market right now for enterprise AI. So I honestly, they're kind of in the same position as Nvidia if I had to just compare it to where you have a company that's at the core of the industry trend, and the market, or I guess analysts, are starting to realize just how big of a growth opportunity that is at hand for these companies. It's like with Nvidia, I look at consensus earnings every so often, and if you look at the historical chart, it's such a big dispersion from a year ago to where people are looking at today. So if you look at 2027 figures, I'll have to pull it up and see where we're at on that. But just the difference between what 2027 estimates were a year ago versus what they're at for today, it's just astounding. Let me see, 2027. So it went from about 230 billion to about 300 billion. That's the average. I mean, top end people are, there's analysts that are estimated like 600 billion in revenue.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just looking at the dispersion from what people were expecting for the AI run a year ago when it was still in its infancy, before really people were adopting it, when it was just like a cool phrase and people were freaking out that it might be like the Terminator, to today where it's people are realizing that, hey, it actually has some utility. Like, I've been a big user of Perplexity for the longest time. One of my buddies got me to start using Claude recently, and just a vast difference between the two applications. First of all, I mean, Claude is an awesome application. Not recommending it, but I love using it.
Yeah.
Just gain some basic insights and kind of begin pathing things out. But
NVIDIA's out.
what's that?
NVIDIA's out?
The video's out.
Why do I not see it?
Here we go. But yeah, just seeing how much more advanced AI has been getting in the last year or so. It's incredible.
It is. Well, NVIDIA, Palantir seems like one of those companies too where they don't really have a lot of competition. NVIDIA's up big, up to 192 here. So we're up 5 points so far from the close, and we're going higher.
Hell yeah, brother.
Let's look. Let's see what's trending with it. Palantir trending with it as well. Palantir up a good 3 points on that. NVIDIA up to 194 now. I still don't see the numbers. Let me try and find the numbers. Q3 adjusted EPS 1.3, revenue 57 billion versus the estimate of 55 billion. Gross margin 73.6%. Margin still insane, man. Q3 data center revenue was 51.2 billion. I don't see an estimate number here. Versus the estimate of 49.34 billion. Gaming revenue, which is a 66% increase. Gaming revenue 30% year over year increase. Beat estimates. Automotive revenue missed the estimates, still up 32%. Operating expenses up 38% year over year, in line with estimates. Free cash flow 22 billion. Wow. R&D, they're spending almost 5 billion in R&D. And there's still, this springboard still looks amazing.
Yeah, that is insane, man.
Yeah, this company is just freaking incredible, dude. Wow.
Yeah, good quarter, guys. Good quarter.
Good quarter. Well done. Well done. Yep, we're up. We were up almost $10 there for a moment there. And you know what? I even tweeted, earlier today, this was down and Apple was skyrocketing off the open. I go, really? We're going to buy Apple and we're going to sell NVIDIA? Yeah, right.
Oh, no.
Apple trades at a higher valuation than NVIDIA. Who on God's green earth thinks that makes any sense whatsoever? Actually, do you have a take on that?
Hey.
Okay,
Apple just released a new phone pocket that you can make for like for like $200. So
yeah,
they're not stupid. They're not stupid by any stretch.
The customers are.
Exactly. Your words, not mine.
I saw that. Those were. Okay, we're having a little too much fun, but those were absolutely stupid.
Oh yeah, talk to anyone that sews or knits. You just like literally make a square, fold it so it closed,
and it can only hold a phone. They didn't even make like a special pocket for like their AirPods to go with it. Nothing. They couldn't make their own little fanny pack with like unbelievably stupid. I want Altman to announce that OpenAI is going to make a phone just to just to give Apple shareholders a good smack across the face.
I thought Elon Musk was making a phone. When's this gonna happen?
I think he will. And actually, Abe and I were just talking about this earlier today. I think he will. He says he won't. He keeps being asked if he will. He says he won't. But I think he'll do it through XAI.
Oh, he's gotta.
Yeah, right. It just makes too much sense. Someone's got to come over here and steal some of this dead money just sitting in Apple doing nothing. You know, we're gonna buy the company growing at 2% year over year with no innovation, and yeah. Anyways, I've already written about it a lot, beating a dead horse.
Innovative.
What?
That phone pocket's pretty innovative.
So the great innovation we needed, basically a threaded knapsack that's the size of a fleshlight for your iPhone.
That's one way to put it.
Let me wear this condom around so everyone knows how cool I am. Basically what it is, it's a condom on a lanyard. Okay, anyways. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just turned this from a family friendly show.
The video not feel stupid.
Yeah.
That was a big risk going into that because I put a strong buy recommendation on it.
Oh,
like
into into the earnings, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like I think the only thing is just like like we were talking about, the liquidity issues in the market. The only thing that scares me, I want to see pop hold. I want to see. Yeah, I think we'll be fine next year or so, but let's hit the hard topic, the topic everyone wants to know, especially from you. Are we in an AI bubble?
So that's a hard conversation to have because there's so many that go into this. So I was asking somebody on LinkedIn, of all places, they posted about there being an AI bubble, such and such being invested in AI. That's just going to be a hoax. And I asked them a fairly basic question. Is this geared towards the infrastructure or AI developers? And it was geared towards the infrastructure, which made me think people don't know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to AI investing. So, the big money, in my view, is on the infrastructure side. You have like NVIDIA, you have AMD, you have Intel now with their CPUs building a partnership with NVIDIA. You have Arista Networks, who does the GPU interconnects and networking infrastructure, as well as Cisco, who does much of the same thing. You have all these companies, as well as like the infrastructure, the gray area on the data center, like, I don't know, even Nucor is getting into that business on building server racks and cooling systems. Vertiv is one of my favorites for the industry, building these integrated server rack and cooling systems and cabinets, and they just bought a power orchestration software company to essentially manage that control system autonomously. I mean, there's so much that goes into building a data center. And if you look at what's being done, if you look at the hyperscalers, and I discussed this in this week's newsletter on my Substack, but you have a total backlog of about $1.21 trillion for cloud services across the major hyperscalers. That's Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, and Oracle. Like, that's not a small chunk of change, right? That's bigger than most economies.
Yeah. Bigger than Germany. It's like Finland, Sweden, Denmark combined.
Exactly. And it's just nuts to think about how, that can be considered bubble territory. And there's two sides to the coin. So, OpenAI and Anthropic are taking a pretty good proportion of that backlog, especially OpenAI. I can't remember the exact figure that they have from Microsoft and Amazon, but it's, and especially Oracle. I think Oracle's backlog is primarily OpenAI. we just have a lot of money that's being directed towards that one AI company that has suggested, I wouldn't say they have financial troubles, but they are kind of running into some roadblocks on gaining financing. Um, so just a kind of sidebar on OpenAI, a couple weeks ago, their CFO had gone on Wall Street Journal Live event and suggested that they would like a government guaranteed loan to help gain more trust across the banks to help finance more of these projects. Government declined. Sam Altman went on the record saying they never asked for a loan and that AI companies should not be bailed out if they fail, only to find out that Sam Altman had written a letter to the federal government asking for a guaranteed loan, an expansion of the CHIPS Act to include AI infrastructure before all this happened, only to be rejected by the government. So it's just that series and that level of deception made me question the adequacy of the company. So like their pro membership, what was it at? It's priced at like $200 a month or something like that.
Yeah,
for
it's
a pro
hefty.
membership or
Yeah.
enterprise membership.
Mhm.
And they're losing money on that on each subscription. People are using more capacity than what the subscription is valued at. So it's, there's obviously a pricing discrepancy, a pricing challenge, and using Microsoft's ownership stake, you can deduce that they lost like $11+ billion in the last quarter net. So it's, there's some concerns on, will the company be successful in all these investments that are piling into the infrastructure so they can build a more powerful model. And Anthropic, they're kind of doing a little bit better financially. The forecasts are suggesting earlier profitability. They took a much different approach, targeting enterprises over consumers. OpenAI had that first mover advantage, whereas Anthropic, they just put to work on their niche and built it out. So, there's some weighing to do with each of them. So that kind of raises some concerns for me. But I mean, in terms of capital spend, which that's the big one, that's what's going to impact NVIDIA directly. How much money are these hyperscalers putting into, compute capacity? I'm forecasting calendar year 2025 to be at around like $368 or so billion across the major hyperscalers, including Alphabet, Amazon, Microsoft, and Meta platforms. That's not including Oracle, but we can include them in the next iteration of this chart.
That number was revenue for them. What was the number?
What was that?
What was that number?
Yeah, so this is capital investment. So this is how
Capital
much these
investment. Oh,
companies
sorry.
are investing in data center builds and leases and compute capacity, the infrastructure that goes around it. So I'm estimating $368 billion for 2025. 26, I'm looking more at 454 billion and 500 billion for 27. So I mean, I'm expecting it to scale as it pertains to NVIDIA. Microsoft kind of hinted at this in their last quarterly earnings, that they're at that stage in the investment cycle for AI infrastructure. So when did OpenAI come out? That was 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's pretty well. That's when GPT got announced, and
Okay.
started to explode. I think they've been around for a hot minute though, just as they there was nonprofit, of course, and all that drama. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
So GPT came out a couple years ago.
right.
And Microsoft hinted at this in the last quarter that their older servers are going to need to be replaced in the next quarter. And I don't know how valid this is, but Tom's Hardware is one of those online blogs that does a pretty diligent job on assessing the tech industry, especially semiconductors. Suggested that GPUs running cloud services providers infrastructure typically have a lifespan of 2 to 3 years. So under that presumption, we should be hitting that refresh cycle this year or next year for a lot of the early iterations, like the H100s that were put in the early days of building out AI infrastructure. And that cycle is going to continue year to year from here on because, it's not something that a typical standard refresh cycle like an enterprise where they buy all their servers, they put them all in once, and then wait a couple years and do it all over again. This is kind of a consistent churn over time where there wasn't enough capacity to meet demand, so it's get what we can get. Let's put these servers in and get more as they come. So it's going to be just a constant refresh cycle for GPUs from here on out. So not only do you have expanded capacity for new capacity, but you also have the refresh of the older capacity, compounding growth for NVIDIA.
Yeah. So your confidence as far as AI bubble is concerned is you have some caution around the actual AI companies, but as far as the infrastructure, you feel like we're full steam ahead, no fears there. They could. It might form. It might be you. So if we are in bubble, we're probably the beginning of the bubble. Before,
yeah, we're on the up cycle of the bubble. If I had to guess.
Okay.
Like, I mean, going back to our conversation on Palantir, their revenue grew by a pretty substantial factor in the last quarter. It's been accelerating over the last 2+ years, their growth. Right. And that's more geared towards government agencies as well as enterprise AI.
Well, isn't the commercial exploding, like even more than the government?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll support my model here, but I mean, commercial is just incredible.
Right.
Incredible growth.
Right.
And if you consider how many customers they have versus the amount of enterprises there are in the US, I'm gonna neglect Europe right now because they're slow to adopt AI. But if you take into consideration their addressable market, their penetration, they have such a huge runway.
Yeah.
Like
Europe,
still early stages.
Europe actually had that.
AI still early stages.
Europe had that policy for AI safety that they were going to enforce in August of next year, and they've just this morning the announcement came out that they were pushing that back till 2027 now. So it looks like they're starting to pull their head from their ass, but culturally I think they're screwed. But anyway, sorry to interrupt, but it looks like maybe they're starting to slowly steer the ship in the right direction. Let me give you some of the bear takes here, and just get a vibe for you. I don't know how much you've thought about these or not. If you don't have a response, that's fine. But the big bear take is that the companies that are big clients of Palantir right now, they're not doing like full adoption, and they're just like testing out the services. Especially. Probably to a lesser degree than Palantir, but like OpenAI and Gemini and Anthropic
that's a bear take.
The bear take, yeah. So just testing them out, and they're going to find out that they're not very useful. And
I was going to say that should be a bull take. Hey, we're only spending, let's say, $10 million for one business unit to test out Palantir's AI technology. Just wait till it expands to the other 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That's a bull take, man.
Yeah. I mean, the bears spin it as like they're going to find out it's not very useful and it's not worth it. Not worth the spend. That's what the bears think.
But they're... So I don't know. So, like, if you consider the total ecosystem that Palantir has intertwined itself into, like with Oracle Business Applications, their big ERP system, does OpenAI or Anthropic or what you name it, do they do any of that? Or is that like what's their enterprise purpose is what I'm trying to figure out.
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, okay, so I don't know what the market thinks, but I was recently talking to someone who actually works in AI. And he was telling me that he's not a market expert by any means, but he was like, I don't know. He goes, he said to me, doesn't the isn't Palantir's evaluation what a company's valued at when there's no competition and they like dominate a sector because they're like the only real enterprise company at scale? And I was like, oh, well, probably, yeah. If you went to any industry and there was one person who dominated all of it, they probably would trade at such an insane valuation, especially if they had that kind of growth.
Oh
So,
yeah,
I don't think there is really any enterprise competition. So,
there's one that
what?
I'm aware of.
Who's that?
C3 AI.
Oh, and they suck ass.
AI, the literal dog of the market.
Yeah, I
They
forgot
were
that.
like at the forefront with Baker Hughes years and years ago, but
Yeah,
I think the discrepancy there, why they lost so bad, and I could be completely off the wall with this, but they started out as a sector specific platform for energy and then branched out to other sectors, whereas I think Palantir was more broad based and then began narrowing to different niches. Like such a big difference in how you approach the marketability. But yeah, C3 AI, I haven't looked at them in probably a year or two, but if you want to pull up their chart, I think they've
I
been
think that thing's dead. I actually haven't looked at it in a while too. They weren't even on my mind. Um, the video holding the rally looking really good here, by the way. But yeah, they even got the AI ticker. I remember when they came out in 2021, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, it's called AI." That was
yeah,
before. That was even before GPT.
fun.
Holy cow! They got earnings coming up, and they're trading at a multi-year low right now.
Yeah, I think my last recommendation or all my recommendations have been sells on them. So
Yeah, this
let me
is
see when the last time I looked at them was.
this chart right now looks like. I mean, for a trader, this is do not touch. For an investor, I mean, you've got a decent risk reward. You've got you're $3 away from the all time low, so you got 30% drawdown on the potential that they're somehow gonna turn it around. They actually, yeah, they missed their last earnings pretty badly. Wow, they missed revenue. They missed earnings by 79% last quarter and
That's
missed
pretty nasty.
revenue by 25%. Holy crap! This company's dead. They're gone. How can you not make it in a market environment like this? If hard times come, you're just bankrupt. You're done.
Yeah, it's stiff competition. Like you have Palantir taking the market by storm,
Right.
and one of the things I liked about them early on before this major stock rally we've had in the last couple years was so they have their AIP platform, or I guess it's just AIP AI platform. But anyways, so they have their AIP deal, and they were doing essentially small classroom setting boot camps with executives, with technology leaders of companies. And instead of just giving them a sales pitch, they were literally using their corporate live data to build a functional application that can be used. So if they were to buy that product, take home what they just got from that AIP boot camp, they could implement it and put it to work. Like they were taking the most aggressive sales approach, the most personal sales approach you can take. And I think that's what's really been driving their success. You can tell someone, like a lot of these, like OpenAI or Anthropic or Deloitte or whatever, who's pitching implementing agentic AI, but unless you actually put it to work, it's just a sales pitch, just a
Right.
bag of hot air. And if nobody knows how to build it and put it in and make it work, it's just like any other software product that's useless. It's just like Teams, it just sits there while people make phone calls.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. So right here, by the way, we're seeing a broad-based rally in futures. Everything but Apple getting a nice boost of what I'm seeing. We could do a quick scroll here through the AI watch list. Yeah, most things finished the day green. It looks like we're seeing continuations from there. This looks Palantir up now a full $4 going to 170 over that's a major reclaim. Hood going to 121. So this is now clearly the Hoods was bearish on the daily EMA. Now we're gonna be it looks like we're gonna be testing that tomorrow. We can take a closer look at SPY here after this after our price action. So SPY's major resistance is 670 from here, and we're at 666 in the after hours, so we still got to do a bit of catch up there. QQQ, whoop, not QQ, QQQ. QQQ at 605, major reclaim, up huge. Okay, so tech is definitely what is driving this higher. NVIDIA,
So risk on the table.
the risk looks like it's coming back on the table. We'll see if it can hold tomorrow. That'll be the ultimate test. Is that you gotta make it through the day tomorrow, and then if you could finish higher tomorrow, okay, you might have sit at bottom from here.
We gotta follow up on emerging markets, see how that one trader you were talking about's doing after.
Oh, Scott Galloway, he's just an investor. You ever heard of Scott Galloway, Professor
No.
Galloway, or you know?
Nah, I don't know people, man. I don't read other people's stuff.
Yeah. I don't even know what to look up to track European stocks off the top of my head. Look at European index, but I know they're not doing well. I know he's probably experiencing total resentment over all of this because honestly, most of their reports and analysis is that AI is a bubble and they didn't like Sam. You know, it's funny what you brought up about Sam Altman wasn't even on my radar. I didn't realize he did like a sneaky little letter that he sent to the government asking for funding. All I saw was what the internet latched onto, which was the reaction when he was asked, "How are you guys going to pay for all these expenses?" And he goes, "Oh, if you want to sell the stock, I can find you a buyer, no problem." And the internet didn't like that. Honestly, that comment for me, I don't know how you feel, but that comment for me, that sounds like some shit I would say if I was annoyed.
Sounds like someone I would punch in the face if they said that to me. It's like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah, really?
I mean, he's obviously a very smart individual and developing something way more advanced than I could ever do in my lifetime
Yeah.
or a number of lifetimes. But someone said something so snobby to me, it's like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Oh, I can find you a buyer if you want to sell your shares. You're talking about that or being.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
in his position, he's probably been asked that dozens of times because there's got to be a good amount of investors that are asking, like, "Hey, are we doing okay? Can we afford this? Like, what's going on?" That are kind of so like, it's probably
Yeah.
like the. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question, but it's probably the 60th time he's answered it. So,
Well,
I don't know.
it's probably changed 60 times.
It
You know,
probably has
probably-
actually.
Right,
That's fair.
man, but,
Yeah.
You know, when does profitability kick in and when do we make our return on investment? It's a different dynamic. And so I suspect in part the crash from the other week was due to a Chinese AI developer coming out with their latest and greatest model that competes well with GPT and comes at a fraction of the price tag. It's basically like a false DeepSeek.
I'm so glad you brought that up, by the way, because I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to just make sure that with whatever you're about to say, can you touch on what you think about all these Chinese open source models? Like, are they what disrupts? I mean, that's where the infrastructure becomes key, right? Because it doesn't matter what model everyone's running, you still need the infrastructure. So you don't need to bet on who's going to win that race. All you need to know is that this shit's moving forward, and this right now is the worst it's going to be. But
yeah, and I want to comment on that real quick, where it comes down to the infrastructure, because it doesn't matter how advanced your model is. If you want consumer scalability, you need more infrastructure. If you want the model to be able to run faster, more efficiently, and take up less power, you need those higher quality, higher class GPUs. So it's not necessarily just to run the model, but also save on power and scale it out. That's all I wanted to say about that.
right, okay, yeah.
They can certainly be a disruptor. I don't think it'll change the game as much for Anthropic or OpenAI. Um, I mean that's an interesting concept. So again, a couple weeks ago, Jensen Huang had a interesting comment about the AI race, and he quickly backtracked and said they're nanoseconds behind the US,
But
which
yeah,
is kind of interesting. So he obviously has his
well,
human
he
ties.
said we were outright losing, and then he said,
Yeah,
"Oh no, they're just right behind us." Yeah. Um,
yeah.
but and I actually wrote about that a little bit, and I was curious whether he said that to get because he's got such close ties with Trump and everything. I wonder if he said that to
Mhm.
get a fire lit under the government, like, "Hey, we
He
need
probably
to
got a
hit,
phone
we got to hit the gas." Yeah, he wanted to get that phone call, and so I kind of wonder if that's why he was because he's a smart guy, and he
Oh
has
yeah.
a marketing background. He knows how to get attention, and get people moving. So I kind of wonder if that was what drove that. But um, yeah, from my understanding, when it comes to the actual providers of the AI sources, um, do you know who Chamath is? SPAC guy.
No.
So he's a big investor in a few startup companies and has his own as well. And he was saying that the AI they use at any point in time is whoever's the cheapest to run.
Mm.
And he goes, right now we're using a Chinese open source model because it's so cheap.
Yeah.
And OpenAI and Claude is so expensive to run. And that seems to be like that's how you're gonna win. It's gonna be literally a race to the bottom. And
Honestly, that's what it's coming down to.
yeah, yeah. So infrastructure really is the only way that you're gonna really make some decent money out of all of this, is what it seems like. Um,
Uh,
that said, I totally agree with you that that Chinese model is probably what actually triggered the selling. That combined with already existing liquidity issues in the market, and I think what caused the bounce that we saw um, this morning was people realizing that that new Gemini model is now top dog because the new Gemini Pro came out and it's got
oh, AI
10x.
3.
Yeah, it's got 10x the context window of GPT. Um, for viewers, that means that AI can only remember a certain amount of the conversation before it starts to forget how the conversation started, and it can only process a certain amount of documents. The new Gemini can handle 10 times longer of a conversation and handle 10 times as many documents, and do it cheaper than GPT. And it's free. so,
It
so
is.
yeah,
Might switch over.
yeah. So your OpenAI, I can imagine there's some investors really, really shaking on their boots on that news, quite honestly.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Probably Microsoft and Amazon as well. And Oracle, like,
I mean,
because
even the
Google, that's the thing about Alphabet, where they've been lagging so far behind on the cloud scale services. But if you listen to any of their earnings calls, they emphasize that their platform is preferred by AI developers. And I mean, they're the biggest search engine in the world. They have all the information, all the data at their fingertips. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to develop the best AI model,
right.
especially through their own infrastructure as well, their TPUs.
Yes. Well, okay, and they're yeah. Everyone forgets that they have their own chips. That almost everyone's also been making their own chips on the side. In fact,
Oh
but
yeah, and get this, Anthropic's they're securing, what was it, like 1 million chips, or I think they secured 500,000, and they're scaling it up to 1 million of their latest TPUs. I can't remember the name of it. Um, for the next year or so, they're not only supporting Anthropic, but they're competing with them in a big way.
I did
Just
not know
incredible.
that. That's yeah. It's I sold Google recently, and then Buffett bought it. Apparently, he was my exit liquidity, and I won't lie, I'm kind of hoping it gives a retracement, but I think it's a clear winner. You know, I'm a little bit more active, so I'm really trying to time highs and buy on dips. But I feel a little FOMO seeing it at new highs today, which I didn't expect. Here, I want to. This is kind of off the wall, but I have a thesis that I've been sitting on and thinking about. I don't know how much you look at the video models, but the new Gemini model is supposed to be the best video model now, better than Sora, which, you know, Sora, OpenAI made their own social media app with just that people can use to make AI videos. And it's going super viral. Not really getting real attraction right now, but it is going viral. And I wonder, now that Google is the best, if Google integrates the video AI capabilities with YouTube, and YouTube creators can then make their own TV shows with infinite actors, with, you know, whatever customizations they want. I mean, does that just start to dominate the streaming space? How in the world can Netflix and Disney and HBO and literally anyone compete with that? Like,
It's tough, man.
do you think that's a valid thesis? Because I'll tell you what, I've been going around pitching this to people, the people we know, that fund managers we know. I've been posting on X, and it's like a dead air. Everyone's like, what? But I feel like that's got to be a reasonable take for what's probably coming in the future, is complete absolute domination from YouTube because of AI. I mean, you could do a whole TV series overnight. You know? Yeah.
Can just punch in a script. I mean, how just not even a script, not even a movie script, just like a text script of what you want it to make, including the script.
Right.
And for all we know, it could generate it. But honestly, I have a hard time with it. So on the one hand, video quality has made tremendous strides in the last year in
Right.
terms of AI generation. On the other hand, it doesn't feel authentic. You know, if you watch a movie from the 50s, it's kind of grainy. The sound's kind of I don't know, it sounds vinyl. And there's just that authenticity of emotion in movies up until, I don't know, the last 5-10 years when movies really went downhill. But I feel like with AI, it's not really able to capture that. And I don't know if you watch AI videos like on Instagram or X or whatever, but it's like once you kind of notice that it's an AI video, it just loses its luster. It's like, yeah, who really cares? It's like a cat video doing something. It's like, a cat wouldn't do that.
Well, it depends what it is. If it's one of those like Bigfoot comedy videos, I'm like, this is hilarious. This is what this should be used for. I love the internet. If it's a video that looks like it's trying to mimic or try to trick people to think it's real, it's a huge letdown. It's like, that sucks. You know?
Yeah,
But if it's like a
never
cat, I saw one with a cat playing the drums on a front porch, and then the woman comes outside. She goes, "What are you doing? You're waking the neighbors." And he goes,
Oh, that's a real video.
like,
Told me.
like, that's funny, but you know what there was a viral video actually that someone just sent to me, and I was like, this is AI. Oh, it was one of those slap fights, you know, the slap fights, the UFC slap fight things. It was a fake video of two women like that. It wasn't real. And I could tell because the way she passed out was completely inhuman. But you know, people are being tricked by this stuff, and when you find out that's not real, you're like, oh, that's super lame. And then you unfollow whoever shared it, and you're like, get out of here. You know, you just feel betrayed. So I get that. I get that. But if you know it's all AI, and you watch it just for the storyline, you know, and it's well written. Think about this.
It's like a Hallmark movie.
Or even, you know, I'm a bit nerdier than you, and not always in some ways. And my guilty pleasure is anime. And I probably know more than I should about animes. But the issue with like a lot of these companies that make these animes is they're all going bankrupt because it costs too much to pay these animators,
Mm.
and it takes like 2 years to make the next season. And I know this sounds lame, but it's actually a huge industry. You know, like the anime streaming
Yeah.
service Crunchyroll's like,
Just look at Sony.
yeah, exactly. They're pretty massive. And you put AI behind anime, no one's gonna give a shit whether a person's doing the voice or an AI is, or who made it. The hardcore fans will care because they'll be like, "Oh, they're taking the job," but they're not gonna care when their next show comes out in a month rather than 2 years. They're just gonna be happy. Uh, uh, and so like I think that's first where you see it, where you just get the total domination, and a lot of these companies that are losing money and barely staying afloat um, can do it with ease. I mean, that's got to be what they're investing in right now, right? I mean, yeah. So I think that's how it starts, and then it just becomes more accepted over time. Is kind of what I'm thinking.
Perhaps, but kind of circling back to what you mentioned, if you know it's AI going into it, I think user acceptance is going to be a little bit better than feeling like you were betrayed or tricked. So I
Right.
think like, just I don't I don't remember if Instagram tried to do it or if they enforced it, but there was a disclaimer that
Yes. They still
mentioned.
do it. You're supposed to put a disclaimer if you make AI content, but there's no real punishment if you don't.
So I think that's a challenge to where I think they need to be pretty strict on that up front,
Yeah.
or there's probably going to be some attrition or an exodus from the platform because it comes down to, people don't know what content's real or fake. And if enough of it's fake, it's like, you know, you're watching the moon landing. It looks fake as hell, the
That's
video footage.
pretty, yeah.
People still believe it,
Yeah.
you know? What if someone makes an actual video using Sora or VO or whatever of a moon landing and be like, hey, we actually did it. Here's the raw footage that was uncovered that's been modernized or whatever. I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think it needs to have a disclaimer that plainly states this is AI generated or it is a steep path down um if people feel tricked or betrayed.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. We got derailed there for a bit. Looks like everything is holding the after hours really strong. Great earnings at it. Nvidia, MU. I mean, we've been going now for. Let me see how long we've been going for actually, and then let me
Yeah, we've got about
also.
an hour and a half, give or take.
Yeah, we've done about an hour and a half, and let me see if we have any questions here, real quick. Someone said this is a 300 IQ room right here. Um,
That's appreciated.
if that's a total, that's not really nice, but
The 300.
that's 100 each.
Oh, oh, there's three people. I didn't see him in there. Well, shit. I guess that proves it.
I think it was meant as a compliment. Oh, my headset just died here. Um, oh, we have a question here. What does Monty think about MU?
You didn't. I can't hear Josh. Josh cut out.
You cut out there.
Uh, shit. Monty, give me a second. I can't hear
And
you.
he's
I'm
gone.
trying to fix my headset.
Going back to what you guys were saying, do you think it needs to be like regulatory for AI videos and stuff to like? I almost think it should be something that Congress says that as part of the video production process, there has to be like metadata that clearly identifies. Oh, he's back.
Yep, I'm back.
I'd say yes. Like, look at what RFK is doing with the food industry.
But
First
how did
couple
we get
weeks,
here?
he just cuts out, or he just hammers food packaging companies on artificial dyes and other contents. Hammers out seed oils for tallow, and the companies are responding. Like Frito-Lay's, they're getting rid of their food dyes. Bunch of companies out there for food packaging getting rid of artificial dyes and other additives. I mean, what was Bill Gates' company Appeal? I keep seeing every so often that they got rejected by the FDA or something like that because they're basically eating rat poison if you were to have his product sprayed on your apples. But I think having kind of, I don't want to call it strict guardrails, but having some repercussions for deceiving people. It's like lying under oath, and social media. You were raised to not trust what you see on the internet. Now people trust everything they see on the internet. I think to a certain extent, there needs to be some disclosure to retain that trust of what people are publishing on the internet, or else it'll just completely collapse. People, you'll read an article. I mean, you can do that on any major media publication. You'll read something that contradicts something else that they published a week ago or even a day ago. But you don't want to fall into that rabbit hole with AI. You want that authenticity, and there's some sites that are supporting it, like Seeking Alpha. You cannot have anything that's AI generated published on their website. So I think there's some companies that value that authenticity of.
Do you use AI when you're writing your research articles?
The only thing I do with AI is I do it for the basic research. Like we were talking before the chat, I was looking at the skincare industry.
Right.
Don't really know where to start on that, so I kind of used it to find or to fast track the research. What are the industry trends? Use the links or the sources to find the links and things like that. So I use it, but I use more of the source data versus what it prints out.
Okay.
I use it to summarize and create Twitter posts on my post or publication.
That's a good way to use it. I usually will. My go-to is usually throw up an idea to it and say, pick this apart. And I try to debate it all the time. It's constantly how I'm using GPT, my GPT Pro membership. Is I'm constantly any newsletter I write or thesis I have, I'm feeding it to AI and I'm saying, try to pick this apart, poke holes in it, and seeing how well it holds up. That's my favorite way to use it, honestly. But I did wonder, did you guys talk about Micron?
No, we haven't talked about Micron.
Oh, okay. Well, we had a question. Someone was asking what you thought about MU. Maybe my mic went out when that happened.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, my bad. That's my bad. Yeah. So, someone asked, "What does Monty think about MU, Micron?" I'll pull up the chart here too.
Probably been a quarter or two since I've really looked at them, but they're big in the HBM space, the high bandwidth memory space, which is what's being implemented directly onto the GPUs. It's a good market. I mean, I don't believe Samsung's as big of a threat to that market, or they might be more these days than they had been quarters ago, but I think Micron has a pretty good growth niche in terms of the HBM chips.
And is that just memory, right? This is basically like a memory company. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this thing's had an incredible run. I've actually been shorting it because it's like most things. I've just been looking for a pullback and shorting anything that looks like it's a bit over its skis. That's all I'll say from as a trader standpoint. But let's see. Oh, we have a question from Kick. What does Monty think about SMCI?
SMCI Supermicro.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I'd say I'm more bearish than bullish on SMCI. So they've run into some significant financial challenges in the last year or so, following that big run up, the scandal. I don't want to call it a scandal, but they ended up not posting or publishing audited reports for a couple quarters. Had to backtrack on that. So they had some issues on their financial reporting in the last year. In terms of competition, it's pretty fierce. You know, you have a lot of newcomers getting into the direct liquid cooling space. You have direct-to-chip cooling that like HP Enterprise and Dell and Vertiv. I guess more Vertiv than Dell, but they partner together. We have a number of companies that are getting into the space. How you even have traditional energy companies getting into liquid cooling space, like Baker Hughes, the big oil field services company. They're getting into the cooling space as well. So like I'll call it the gray space, which is more of like the infrastructure that supports the IT infrastructure in the data center. It's quickly diluting across a number of different competitors. Like I'd referenced that Nucor, they're getting into the server rack building space. So it's becoming more and more competitive. And my bearish thesis on SMCI isn't necessarily for that reason, but it's more so the development cycle shortened when NVIDIA announced that they're going to have a 1-year cadence on their chip cycle. So instead of announcing a new iteration of their GPUs every couple of years, they shortened it to a single year cycle. So you had the H100s, the Hoppers, then you had the Blackwells, and then you're going to have what's the next one? It was Rubin. They have Rubin coming up next, and then I think they've already announced the one after Rubin. So it's accelerated to a 1-year cycle. And an issue that SMCI ran into the other year was they had to basically mark down a substantial proportion of their inventory. They overbuilt, underdelivered, and the inventory that they built for older iterations is now virtually worthless because no one's buying it. So their development cycle is going to be heightened. They're going to be investing a lot more in R&D to support it, and it's just such a competitive market that I'm expecting margins to compress as a result of it. So profitability for AI servers is just going to be a race to the bottom. And that's kind of where Dell and HPE kind of stand out. So they're more on the traditional server side, where AI servers is just a component of their business. And if you look at the server cycle, they're at the beginnings of a big refresh cycle. So, you know, they should be seeing some good growth tailwinds, some margin creative tailwinds in the coming quarters, as opposed to where SMCI, who primarily focuses on the AI servers, they're going to remain pretty stagnant. They might see some good growth, but they're not going to see that margin expansion that HP or Dell is going to see. And
Okay.
I guess like to tie it all off, management isn't very good at forecasting revenue growth.
Yeah.
Their eyes are bigger than their capacity. I can't remember. It was like God, I'd have to pull my notes to give you the exact figures, but they were off by like $20 billion or something.
That's
terms of their forecast.
crazy.
It was an insane figure. Let me pull that up because I don't want to misquote on this. This is an important factor here.
I mean, they've missed the last 4 earnings. I was curious. I think one of those names. Did you say a refrigeration company was getting into data center cooling?
Oh, oil field services.
Oil field services.
Baker
Okay.
Hughes.
Baker Hughes. Okay. Because I think I remember reading. I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing it didn't come to fruition, but have you ever looked into Kinmore's company, the Kinmore's company, ticker CC?
No, I haven't.
I think I remember an analyst report saying that they could have an entry into data center cooling as well through their refrigeration and air conditioning sector, but it doesn't look like that's come to fruition. I think there were some pops on some speculation about it, but it doesn't look like it's gotten fall through. But
Okay, here we go. On
ahead.
SMCI, to give you the figures, the verbatim figures. So management had guided 2026 figures, 2026 revenue to be $40 billion. And that coincided with analysts' consensus forecast of $33 billion. So they were pretty far off.
Yeah.
On their those ventures were just sinking and companies going through their financial issues. Let me see. Actually, I was estimating at the time for 25 at right around 25 billion, 37 for the next year. I mean, I think I was a little bit bullish. I don't know what they've been reporting at these days. It's been a couple quarters since I've looked at them, but
Let me see if we have any last questions to end on. We actually have a few here.
yeah.
But
So
it's
26, looks like 26 consensus has come up to 36 billion. So it's doing better than originally expected by analysts. Still, I'm still, I mean, I guess at my last report, I'm at the high end of the curve as far as forecasting goes. So we'll see if I'm right or not. But
okay.
at the time, I was bullish on the company, wrote a positive report on them. Uh, let's see, it's been pretty lousy following earnings miss, which probably deems a good update for us, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
trading it in the dirt here. You're coming back to some pretty key levels, but at the same time, technically, this thing is broken.
oh
So
yeah.
I've got like a trend line for November 2024, and this thing just blew right through it. No, it didn't even, not even strong enough to backtest the breakdown.
You know what?
So
It wasn't that long since I looked at them. It was August 14th when I reported my bullish case on them. Let's see where they were priced at the time. Right around 46 a
and they got,
share.
yeah, they got a nice pump since
Yeah,
then.
it
They
looks
went
like
to
they peaked out
58.
about 57,
Yeah.
58 before dropping down to, what are they, 33 now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think updates necessary these days. So we'll circle back on that, and I'll make sure to share it on the Discord as well as the Substack. How about
Cool.
that?
Yeah, that sounds great. Make sure everyone viewing this, make sure you're in the Discord. I guess we'll end on this because it's a really broad question. Um, does Monty have any views on raw materials?
On raw materials, that's a fun question. That's an area that I'll dip my toes in periodically, checking on the market. You know, I've traditionally looked at the steel industry pretty decently, the aluminum industry, rare earth elements industry. Um, I wouldn't say I look at precious metals. That's not really of interest. It's more speculative trading in my book, especially for gold. Silver has some industrial purposes, but gold, and it's kind of minimal. Um, we've looked at chemicals and oil and gas. What else have we looked at? A bit of uranium. I think that covers pretty much most of what we've looked at over the years, but
That's everything I'm aware of. Maybe palladium. I mean, the only other thing. Yeah.
yeah, I saw an article, or I think it was an interview on Bloomberg this morning talking about kind of the waning uranium thesis. Um, and that's one of those things where if you look at power production today and what's available to expand the grid, the most viable resource that we have in the United States is natural gas, hands down, no question. Natural gas, and I've written about this a number of times, where natural gas you can literally drill and process and transport and burn it all in the same neighborhood. Like the nuclear fuel cycle, the United States does not have the infrastructure to be dependent on our own production and enrichment and processing and all the number of steps it takes to go from yellow cake to uh, making steam in a power plant. So natural gas, it's the most abundant. Technology's there. You know, you have three major companies that build industrial scale gas turbines. You have smaller companies, or I guess smaller scale gas turbines that are being built by like Caterpillar of all companies that are in high demand. Like it's just in such high demand these days to power AI data centers, to power industrial complexes, that it's it's probably the area to be in right now.
Okay.
In terms of materials, or I guess resources
Well, did you
more
see?
so.
I want to. Did you see that there was a headline today that the government, U.S. government, intends to start production on 10 new nuclear facilities.
Yeah,
And that's
I
like a big
mean,
objective for them. Do you? But do
they've been
you
saying that for years, though.
have they?
What did
But
Biden say? He wants to double capacity by 2050, or the EU said that, or somebody said that a couple years back.
the EU's been shutting them down for a while now. But they
Yeah.
reversed most of that like late 2024. And
Mhm.
I don't think I don't know I don't remember Biden saying anything positive, to be honest. But I've
Yeah, I
been
think he aimed to double
did
nuclear
he?
capacity, but
He
it all
might
comes
have.
down to the cycle too, where if Russia's embargoed, that's like, I don't know, 20, 30, 40% of enrichment capacity right there just gone.
Yeah, true.
And if the United States can't leverage them, if the US is pressuring Europe to use less of Russia's resources, like for oil and natural gas, if India is being pressured now to secure a trade deal with the US, I mean, there's going to need to be a lot of capacity across the fuel cycle before we can have more nuclear power.
Okay. So you think do you
So,
think
yeah,
that a lot of these nuclear names that are getting these massive run-ups are a bit overdone?
I wouldn't say it's overdone. I think there's a lot of hype into it. I think it's trading on lofty future expectations. Um, like if I had to put an actual guess on, like if I had to forecast what the future is going to look like in the next 10 years, I'd put my money on natural gas over nuclear any day.
Really?
I
I
would.
mean, just because of the availability.
You have the availability, it's easy to transport, easy to process, easy to burn, no disposal. You don't have to recycle it. You just burn it and move to the next cubic meter or cubic foot. Like there there's no there's a, there's no nuclear waste that comes out of it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you have backwash in the well that can be radioactive, but it's not like you have a drum of nuclear waste that needs to be disposed of or hidden in a salt mine or
Right.
whatever. You just have carbon that's coming out, if anything, and modern plants will likely have carbon capture technology to scrub it out and dispose it, or in fact reuse it to um what's it called, to not refract, but to enhance oil recovery. So if you look at Occidental Petroleum, their big thing was using carbon to enhance oil production at their well. So once the well's producing, they'll inject carbon dioxide into the well, and that'll essentially amplify production and extend the decline curve for producing wells. So with the right technology, natural gas can be just as carbon efficient as nuclear.
Hmm. But
Probably more actually, because you don't need to transport it every freaking corner of the world
yeah.
on air, probably not airplanes, probably on cargo ships and by truck and freight and train, you know.
Right.
Gas is
Right.
on pipeline. There's no fuel for transporting in pipeline. You just need pressure to get from A to B.
Yeah, the supply chain for uranium is pretty insane. Without a doubt, it's probably the most insane one there is. Um, so I'm super curious. Um, we do have a follow-up question, I guess. I'm super curious about solar, but we do have a follow-up question on what you think about the rare metals. Um,
Um, yeah, so I've written about the dollar to basement trade a couple times. If you want to pull up, what is it? BTGD is the ticker. It's an ETF that provides 100% coverage of gold and 100% of Bitcoin as a singular trading product.
BTGD.
Correct.
Right. Interesting.
So it pretty much tracks to Bitcoin since gold's a little bit more stable, but um I'm starting to lop Bitcoin in with gold, just given the interest in using the gold standard again, especially with Florida. Um bringing back the use of gold coins as currency starting in 2026.
What? I did not hear that at all. That's a
Oh
thing?
yeah, look it up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a thing apparently.
That's interesting.
DeSantis enacted that piece of legislature, but it's one of those things where unless it's widely adopted, unless items are denominated on Bitcoin or gold, you're still pricing it to the dollar, whether you buy it in Bitcoin or gold. So think of it as a foreign exchange rate. The price of Bitcoin to the dollar is the foreign exchange rate. Same with gold. What's gold priced at, like 39 something right now? But
Yeah.
that's the cost to exchange 1 ounce of gold for US dollars. Just like trading $1 for 0.7 or whatever euros. It's an exchange rate just with bigger numbers. So virtually every commodity is going to be priced on the US dollar, whether it's oil, whether it's live cattle, you name it. It's going to be priced and benchmarked on the US dollar. Until commodities are benchmarked to Bitcoin or gold, until commerce is broadly adopted and priced to Bitcoin or gold, you need to consider that the exchange rate between the US dollar and gold or Bitcoin is going to influence the actual price you pay for that item. Does that make sense, or am I kind of talking in circles there?
No, that makes sense. This is really why you just think it's just all speculation. Then it's not really
Exactly. It's not a
Yeah.
currency
Right.
until things are benchmarked by that currency.
Why do you think there's such a? Do you think that? I don't know if you have an opinion on this. This is a little off the wall, but do you think that the central bank buying of gold is just like echoes of the past?
Are they buying up gold right now, or is
Like
that something?
like before, I mean, right now retail is the biggest buyers of gold. They think that China is, but I think China's probably selling to them here, based on the flows. And the flows that the hedge funds are reporting right now is mostly retail buying here. But there was major flows. Japan was a big buyer of gold. Russia has been a big buyer of gold, and China was a bit those are the major buyers of gold in 2024. The central bank
Yeah.
buying was
I mean,
major.
it could be a hedge against the US dollar, since
Yeah,
the US dollar is probably one of the most broadly adopted reserve currencies, with the euro and Japanese yen following suit. But yeah, it could just be a hedge against the US dollar in terms of reserve currencies.
which is just like being responsible, trying to get off the
Yeah.
U.S. dollar system, maybe in the future, or on a hedge against a collapse. Okay, let me get a bit more specific. Have you ever looked at MP?
MP Materials.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a couple years since I first reported on them, but it's an interesting deal where US government, what did they take, 10 or 15% interest in the company not too long ago?
Yeah, they also did like they also funded another mining startup because of the magnets.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting how things are kind of unfolding for them, to where they were kind of having a hard time getting off the ground. It looks like they're starting to get off the ground. And it's kind of interesting because processing rare earths to make natural magnets is kind of a dirty industry, which is why China has been such a dependent figure in that process.
What do you mean by that?
Um, well, it's just very carbon intensive. It's
Oh, okay,
a
okay. I
lot
see
of
what you're saying.
yeah, a lot of waste goes into it, and yeah, it's just a really dirty industry. Um, and a lot of byproducts. So it's probably more of a hedge against China's hostility in terms of using rare earths as a bargaining chip. So a couple weeks back, China had announced that they're becoming more restrictive on the trade restrictions with the US in terms of rare earth elements, to where they want them only for commercial purposes, not for defense, which, for defense, rare earths are used in guiding systems for missiles, they're used in jets, they're used in radar, used in a number of features for airplanes and ships and things of that sort. So we're kind of at a paradigm with the U.S. military to where Trump's trying to beef it up, defend against a possible World War III with China or Russia or whoever it may be. So it's one of those things where we need the resource and we need to secure our ability to source it. On the other hand, you have a declining market for electric vehicles in the U.S. So the necessity or the heightened demand for rare earths might be declining to a certain extent. It's kind of a weird market. It's a tough market.
Yeah, those magnets are essential component for missiles and drones was the big thing that that I think was why the government, they saw it as a national security issue to make sure they could secure it. Because they didn't just invest, they guaranteed purchases. So I've actually been buying some MP on this tip. So they guaranteed buying them at like 150% of the market value to ensure that China can't price them out of the market, because China literally was selling them at a loss to make sure to try and basically put everyone else globally out of business. But yeah, okay. I think we've covered a lot, man. I actually still have some more questions. I do see a few other questions in the chat, but I think we got to wrap it up here because I got to get going. But looks like we got to do another one of these. If you're down, and everyone, again, if you want to be able to follow Monty's investments, where can they get access to that for hands-free investment portfolio tracking?
The portfolio, it's up there on surmount.ai. Look for I believe the portfolio is called Monty Balanced Equities. And if you want to read our research, everything that gets put into the model is thoroughly researched and assessed. Research is published on Substack at Monty Investments.
Awesome, man. That's honestly so cool that they're letting people do that. And, that's really what everyone wants is like, let me just follow what this guy does. And you also have the research for the people who don't want to do that. That's basically the model that allowed even someone who isn't good, like Cathie Woods, to accumulate so much AUM. Even when her theses work, her execution is just freaking pitiful. So,
what in 2020 or 22 or something like that?
Yeah, like and her investment thesis, where the video was geared towards electric vehicles, it wasn't even a good thesis. Or the most bullish, or like we just talked about today, that was the sector that missed for them, the only one that missed for them. But appreciate you, man. You're doing great stuff. Everyone, make sure you go check out the Substack. Monty's one of the best analysts I know, without a doubt, is the best analyst I know, without a doubt. Always bringing up interesting ideas and tickers. I'm sure if you guys DM him, he might grace you with some of his time. But make sure you go check out that Substack. All right. I hope everyone learns.
We're number one.
One.
We're top 1%.
Top 1%. Let's go. So go check that out. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Good to talk to you, man. I'll go ahead and end the stream here. God bless everyone. Check out the links. All right.